It's Friday, November 8th. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Carol Francis. As the holiday season approaches, a crime management strategy designed to increase the safety and security of all residents in Jamaica has been unveiled.
Every year at around this time, people across become increasingly anxious about doing their business transactions. This, of course, is because there tends to be a surge in robberies and other types of acquisitive crimes, as well as elevated public disorder in and around our commercial and public districts. Given the increased commercial activities in anticipation of the end of the year festivities in particular, this is a matter that the government takes very seriously, and we are taking steps to effectively address it.
Minister of National Security Dr. Horace Chang says over the next 8 weeks, there will be a visible increased police presence in commercial districts and public spaces.
These intensified safety and security measures are being put in place so that law-abiding Jamaicans can feel safe going about their daily lives and making their preparations for the end of this year activities. At this time of the year, people tend to want to celebrate irrespective of their challenges and should be able to do so without apprehension wherever they are. I have requested that the Commissioner of Police, supported by the Chief of Defence Staff and the instruction of the Prime Minister, put in place the requisite systems to reassure the people of Jamaica that everything is being done to intensify the work of the security forces in order to ensure public safety and good order. This will include strengthening the capacity of the security forces, both in terms of increased presence as well as other supporting measures. The Commissioner will also be monitoring and making adjustments as necessary during this period.
Commissioner of Police Major General Anthony Anderson says among the initiatives being implemented is the introduction of a quick response motorcycle team.
With respect to violent crimes, we'll continue to use the provisions afforded by the states of emergency to control the levels of violence in these traditionally violent communities. By way of update, in the Tri-Parish area, there is a 35% reduction in murders and a 40% reduction in shootings when compared to the period prior to the state of emergency. In the Bi-Parish area, which is Clarendon and the two St. Catherine divisions, there's a 55% reduction in murders and a 51% reduction in shootings when compared with what was happening before. And in St. Andrews South, which is the other area, there's a 22% reduction in murders and a 32% reduction in shootings in this area. We've also redeployed some of our CIB assets into these areas, large teams to assist the divisional assets to, again, do targeted investigations on the gangs and their leaders, but also to target where guns are. Over the last 24 hours, we've recovered 5 handguns, 84 rounds, and a hand grenade.
As part of its role in supporting the Jamaica Constabulary Force during these special security operations, the Jamaica Defence Force has taken a number of steps aimed at maximizing the effect of our activities. The Joint Task Force has been established to deliver this support to the police in a number of hotspots and police divisions across the island. The Joint Task Force is essentially an amalgamation of and reorganization of units and resources of the force. The goal here is to maintain a highly mobile and visible presence in these areas in order to deter criminal activities. Unfortunately, we cannot give the exact details, but rest assured it will place members of the security forces where they are most effective and most needed. One of the most significant features of this joint task force is the incorporation of over 400 new Jamaica National Service Corps graduates. These new soldiers have been extensively trained and are highly committed to playing their part and making their presence felt as a part of Jamaica's overall security infrastructure. We have very high expectations of them. In addition to the bolstered troop numbers as a result of the Jamaica National Service Corps graduates, we will also be committing the full gamut of our intelligence capabilities and some specialized equipment and resources to support and sustain continuous operations over the period. This will result in more snap raids, more patrols, more checkpoints, and overall, more soldiers and police in the affected communities.
I know that questions will be raised about the cost implications of implementing these intensified safety and security measures. Let me be abundantly clear. The government does not place a dollar value on any life. We do not estimate the value of these operations based on cost, but rather on the number of lives that are saved, the number of children and families that are spared from trauma.
Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says an audit of the Tower Street Adult Correctional Center last year revealed that of the 1,550 people incarcerated at the time, 203 were diagnosed with mental illness. Dr. Tufton says the government is seeking ways to provide alternatives to incarceration for non-violent persons, primarily with substance use and/or psychiatric disorders.
The goal for us in this room and outside is for persons with a mental illness to be diverted to treatment and services in the community, as said earlier, instead of entering the justice system, and for the prevention of re-entry into the system by mentally ill offenders.
Speaking at the launch of a research paper on incarcerated persons with mental illness titled Through the Cracks, Dr. Tufton says the research provides vital data that can inform mental health plans, budgets and programs, prepare options for alternative approaches, and provide advice to the government on effective resource allocation to community mental health services.
In line with the 2020-2025 strategic plan to provide comprehensive, integrated, and responsive mental health and social care services while boosting resource planning and stakeholder collaboration.
Sagicor Select Funds Limited is hoping to raise $4 billion from an initial public offer IPO for the purchase of up to 4 billion shares in a new listed equity fund titled Manufacturing and Distribution Select Fund. Each share is costing $1 with a discounted amount of 98 cents per share for Sagicor employees participating in the IPO. Minister of Tourism Edmund Bartlett says Jamaica and Panama is set to establish a multi-destination arrangement as part of efforts to strengthen tourism relations between both countries. The announcement follows discussions with Minister of Tourism for Panama, His Excellency Ivan Alfaro, and Minister Bartlett at the World Travel Market in London. Multi-destination tourism is a strategy to increase the product offerings of the respective destinations, but more so to enable better air connectivity between markets, particularly for long-haul destinations. With this multi-destination arrangement, Panama will become a hub for long-haul flights. Emirates and Air China are among the two targeted carriers. The Jamaica Tourist Board and the Panamanian Tourism Authority will meet to conclude details of the arrangement by January 2020. Jamaica has had diplomatic relations with Panama since 1966. Currently, Copa Airlines, which is the flag carrier of Panama, operates 11 flights weekly into Jamaica. And Mr. Bartlett has reportedly secured airlift arrangements with Condor Airlines as part of efforts to lessen the impact of the recent collapse of Thomas Cook, the 178-year-old British tour operator. The announcement follows a meeting with Condor Airlines and the Jamaica Tourist Board during the World Travel Market. Condor Airlines, a subsidiary of the defunct Thomas Cook, has been the most consistent carrier to Jamaica from Germany over the last 20 years with bi-weekly services. Despite its parent company Thomas Cook Group filing for insolvency, the airline continues to operate after securing a bridging loan from the German government. According to Mr. Bartlett, Jamaica has completely restored all the seats that would have been lost following the collapse of Thomas Cook. Technology Minister Favour Williams says the country's two major telecommunications providers should explain to authorities what's causing frequent disruption in service. Customers of Telecom's company Flow and Digicel have been raising issues regarding frequent dropped calls and patchy internet service. Speaking with Nationwide News yesterday, Minister Williams says she expects a full report from the OUR in 7 days. The 20th staging of the Minards Livestock Show and Beef Festival at the Minards Estates in Brownstown, St. Anne is scheduled to take place on November 14 under the theme Empowering Our Youth in Livestock Production and National Development. The festival will highlight the use of technology in advancing the development of agriculture in Jamaica. Activities include cattle display and cattle judging, as well as a goat and calf scramble. More than 200 schools across the island are expected to participate in the festival through their 4-H clubs. And time now for Culinary Trails with Simone Absalom.
Cruise past all the hustle and bustle and make your way to F&B Restaurant. It's a great spot for a date, a business lunch, or even an early dinner. F&B Restaurant serves up delicious local dishes with great presentation. The multi-themed restaurant serves up cool drinks at the bar and stimulating art pieces. Hi guys!
Hey, you're here.
This place is pretty swanky. Wow, let's get talking. What are you guys gonna have to drink?
Some wine?
Yes, let's get some wine.
So F&B stands for food and beverage. So this part is the restaurant. You have Swiss stores, where is the jewelry, and we have the Q section, that's a private section, which we're gonna have lunch later, so I will show you that space. So right, so this is a nice experience for shop and drink and dine. Right here we have in a oxtail with rice and peas. Then we have in a chicken salad, stir-fried noodles with chicken, Alfredo pasta chicken, and a pepper pot soup.
Good food, warm ambience, interesting art displays, and exquisite jewelry. F&B Restaurant is a good choice when in Kingston. Thanks for watching Culinary Trails.
In Trinidad and Tobago, police probe is underway into 2 social media posts. one of which Police Commissioner Gary Griffith says speaks about burying a female political leader. We have more in this TV6 report.
We feel that our democratic right is to say what we want, do what we want. That is not true.
Police Commissioner Gary Griffith, as he spoke about 2 reports he said he received about posts on social media that are now under police investigation in the lead-up to the local government elections on December 2nd.
We will be having these individuals come to the police station and we will be interviewing them. One involves an individual who just made a video basically alluding to the fact that he intends to bury a political leader in a grave and he intends to deal with her. Now we have to be very careful as to the comments that we make. I refer to Section 49 of the Summary Court Act, violent language and breach of the peace.
The Commissioner soon clarified he meant Section 49 of the Summary Offences Act, which states any person making use of insulting, annoying or violent language with intent to or which might tend to provoke any other person to commit a breach of the peace is liable to a fine of $200 or to 30 days in jail. TV6 News understands the video the Commissioner has referred to was in reference to UNC political leader Kamla Persad-Bissessor.
I am not going to condone in any form or fashion any individual or organization that may cause fear, undue panic, or make any threatening language or try to incite violence in any form or fashion during this election campaign.
He then spoke of the second online post that has caught the attention of law enforcement.
Someone just set up something and she stated that there's a source that stated that certain officials paid off medical officials big money to inject citizens with the swine flu. Now this is tantamount to madness. That individual is also, we are going to find out, and we are also going to bring her in for questioning. This madness stops now.
Caribbean countries recently discussed the need to transform their economies to achieve sustainable growth. Marie Claire Williams has more in this week's business report.
Stimulating economic growth was the main focus when Caribbean leaders and IMF officials met in Barbados on Wednesday for the annual Caribbean Forum. Director of the IMF, Alejandro Warner, reported that 2019 was a relatively good year for regional economies, but he says the level of growth is still disappointing.
We cannot say with the world economy that it's slowing down, but still, I mean, the U.S., that is the main source of demand for the Caribbean, doing quite well, just slowing down a bit, but slowing down from the aggregate demand side because investment has dropped, but consumption has done very well. So in that sense, you would say an international environment in which your main consumer is doing pretty well. I mean, the lowest unemployment rate in recent history in the U.S., consumption doing quite well. These guys are traveling, they're coming here, they're having fun, they're consuming. So you have that, you have very low interest rates, and you have energy commodity prices that have been relatively stable. And in that sense, I mean, your growth is still disappointing. So
Werner is therefore calling for structural changes to spur regional growth. One of the suggestions is for the Caribbean to take advantage of the Caribbean single market and economy. But CARICOM chairman, St. Lucia's Prime Minister Alan Chasney, lamented a lack of support for CARICOM, and this, he says, is hindering growth.
CARICOM, which I love dearly, but the fact is that CARICOM is a broken institution that is financed, and we're not giving it the sufficient level of commitment that we ought to. Yet it is a vehicle for change in our region. And the persons that could make that change are really the heads of government. And I think that Mia talked about it, the will of the willing to be able to achieve that. But it's costing us money every single day in market loss, in inefficiencies, and the ultimate person who is paying the price the greatest are our citizens, who are not able to deliver the quality of life that they deserve, that we are not allowing the intellect of this region to come to the forefront to the extent it ought to.
But St. Kitts and Nevis Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris argues that the current state of the Caribbean's economy must be put in a historical context.
How do we model a society which for years had a particular role to play, which was simply to assist the colonial master in its own ways? Whatever you were to manufacture was to suit a particular position. Independence came, but those structures remain. Independence came, and the way in which we were learned to think of ourselves, our potential, all those were framed within a particular context. And so we have to go through a real hard process of learning and unlearning, and learning some of the limits that people impose upon us.
Meanwhile, in terms of economic performance this year, President of the Caribbean Development Bank, Dr. Warren Smith, noted that post-disaster recovery has contributed significantly to the performance in some islands.
Part of the growth that we are seeing in the region this year can be traced back to the investments, the reconstruction investments that are taking place in some of our countries in 2017. Dominica, there's a significant uptick in growth in Dominica as a consequence of the spend that is taking place to fix that economy. Similarly, in Anguilla and to a lesser degree in the British Virgin Islands.
Barbados' Prime Minister Mia Mottley expressed cautious optimism about her country's economy. Last year, the government introduced the Barbados Economic Recovery and Transformation of BERT program in a bid to turn around the ailing finances.
We recognize now that we have to have a singular focus on growth, that we can get our debt to GDP target of 60% by 2032 or way before, by growing our economy or by slavishly just trying to be playing cautiously within the crease. If you come from a nation that has produced the greatest cricketer the world has ever seen, then you have to learn to play outside of the crease and to play some shots. And we are about to play some shots in the country. And those shots hopefully will lead to the kind of growth that we need.
Mary-Claire Williams, Newsline Business.
And in sports, West Indies captain Pollard has praised his side after their convincing 7-wicket win over Afghanistan 11 in their opening one-day international on Wednesday. Pollard, in his first series as captain, says he is pleased at the team's performance.
Playing his first ODI in 3 years, Pollard said the bowling effort was an expression of the ideal type of cricket West Indies wanted to play. Also commenting on the field, Pollard said there were a few blemishes, but, quote, "We'll take that because of the effort the guys would have given in the field in terms of the enthusiasm and intensity," end quote. West Indies will face Afghanistan in the second ODI at the same venue on Saturday.
And that's our package. Join us again on Monday, same time, same place for more news and sports right here on PBCJ, the People's Station.